Hey, bro, what's up? You like plays and stuff? You like plays? Come check it out, bro. I got some plays for you, huh? Down at the Veterans Memorial Park is Julius Caesar, bro. Julius, the Caesar, the stab the blood, you know? Enough of that. The 5 things you should know about Julius Caesar. Number 1, Erebus. Who or what is an Erebus? Well, Erebus is the Greek god of darkness, one of the original founding gods that the Greeks came up with to explain darkness, right? We have the god of the sun, the god of light. Well, we needed a god of darkness, and Erebus was that god. Not necessarily just evil, but the absence of light. Number 2, Rome. Today we know Rome is the capital of Italy. It's one city. In ancient times, it's a little bit more confusing. It started out as a tribe that became a nation, that became a kingdom, that became a republic, that became an empire. And at the very beginning, Rome was ruled by a series of kings, and these kings were bad dudes. They raped, they pillaged, they took from their own people, so they eventually rose up and overthrew the kings, led by a guy named Brutus. And Brutus is not the same Brutus in the Shakespeare play, but he is the ancestor of this Brutus. So they overthrew the kings, and they said, no more kings, we can't deal with kings, we need to set up a system of governance that works. So they founded democracy, or they worked with democracy. I'm not sure if they founded it, but they used democracy. They applied a senate, a group of people to rule, along with a man in charge in a certain term limit, like a president, but they called him a consul. They did this for a good long period of time. It worked well for a while, until we get to a man and a rule, okay? And the man is Sulla. And the rule is declaring yourself dictator in case of emergencies for power, so that you have absolute control to handle things and take care of things. He declared himself dictator. It turned into a civil war. And this carried long after Sulla was gone. It turned into a gentleman named Pompey, who was named consul as well. And Pompey was a very powerful man who had the Senate on his side. But at the time, there was our Gaius Julius Caesar expanding the Roman Empire, making Rome richer, wealthier, and he had the military on his side. These two guys didn't like each other. Eventually, civil war again breaks out, with Pompey fleeing and eventually dying, and Caesar becoming the only sole consul. And he is enjoying his power. He makes Rome strong, but he also makes himself very strong. And he is ruling and deciding what it is for everybody. In a sense, he's becoming a king. 2 senators at the time, Brutus and Cassius, who didn't like this idea, but they felt that the republic was dying, and to keep the republic alive, they needed to overthrow this man. And what other way to get rid of a dictator than to kill him? That was the conspiracy they came up with. Complicated for Brutus, in fact, that he was actually considered possibly an illegitimate son of Caesar, and was a close, dear person to Caesar and his family. So these two decided on the plot, and this is where the play picks up. The question is, should a government, a nation, a place, a thing, be ruled by one person? Should it stand under one man's awe? Should there only be one to make the decision for all? Do we and thus become slaves? Do we have no free will? Do we have no destiny because it all belongs to one man? Okay, number 3, Cato. Now, who is a Cato? What is a Cato? Cato is a prominent Roman figure at the time, a philosopher. He is definitely not on the side of Caesar. He hates Caesar. He hates his guts. In fact, he hates his guts so much that Cato decides to spill his own guts. He would rather kill himself than live under a tyrannical person like Caesar. He would rather be dead than be a slave of Caesar's. He is an iconic figure that brings up to this play, what does it mean to value your own life over the rule of tyranny? And this becomes a common theme of the play. Many people off themselves. Also, Cato is the father of Portia. Portia being the wife of Brutus, the gentleman, the lead conspirator in the plot to kill Caesar. Numero 4, Lucius Titanius Popilius. Lots of names are thrown around in this play. Shakespeare assumes that maybe you know the context of what is happening in this time of history. Brings up these names. These people come in and out of the play. It's a lot to take in. In fact, in our play, it's confusing because they're all played by the same actors. They only change costumes. So it's going to be a real challenge to understand who's saying what. It's hard to pack all the history into this play, but a lot of history is happening. So don't worry too much about that. Shakespeare actually announces them when they're coming on stage, who they are, even though they may be played by one person you've seen before. But they're there to bring information to move the story along. Number 5, why is the play called called Julius Caesar, when in fact Caesar is barely in it. In fact, he's gone by intermission. Well, everyone knows the name of Julius Caesar. Why Shakespeare chose Caesar is because people would know what he's talking about. But instead of focusing on the life of the man, he chose to focus on the death of the man and what happens afterwards, calling into question about what it is to be ruled under a monarchy, which he was at the time as he wrote this play. In England, there was a monarchy. Governance, free will, and destiny under one person. Is it a right thing to do or is it a wrong thing to do? This was a tricky thing to ask in Shakespeare's time. You couldn't just go and talk about this. So you use the guise of a play to talk about controversial things so that the audience could also think and ask them questions themselves. 5 reasons to explain about the play Julius Caesar to understand before you come to see. Hopefully it helps clear some things up because it will get a little bit confusing if you don't know. But I promise you, you'll figure it out. There's all kinds of action. Like I said, there's fun stuff. There's blood. Come down, see Julius Caesar at the Veterans Memorial Park. We have 3 more shows left, July 2nd, July 5th, and July 10th, all at 7:30. Beautiful afternoon. Bring some chairs, bring a blanket, bring some food, bring your dogs, bring your friends. Please don't touch the actors and come watch the tragedy of Julius Caesar. Oh.